right, so this is the De Bello Gallico, Book 1, Chapter 2. That's the chapter, and that's kind of like the verse number. So, apud Helvetios. Among the Helvetians, remember apud can mean either among or at the house of or with, there has been, sum esse fui futuris, Porgetrix, longly, or by far, very noble, see superlative, and very rich. Remember that ditissimus comes from a singular nominative dives, and then divitis, but often you'll find that that is dropped out via syncope. He, from is-id, ablative absolute, with Marcus Massala and Marcus Piso as the consuls. And this is one of the two different ways that you would date years in the ancient Roman system. The other, of course, using the system of AUC, counting years, from the city having been founded. For us, it'd be like counting the years of me saying in the second year of the Eisenhower administration. And then you automatically knowing, oh, that's 1954. Nevertheless, so, with those guys being the consuls, he, nominative, having been led on by a desire, a lust of the kingdom, genitive, he made a conspiracy of the nobility, and he persuaded, persuadeo, persuadere, persuasi, perfect tense, and it means to persuade something in the dative case, or to make something accusative favorable to something in the dative case. And so he persuaded the citizenry. This is one of those tas tatis nouns that we see, and the nominative would be civitas and civitatis. And you can translate it as the city, the state, the governmental entity. I like to call it the citizenry, the state. And he persuaded the citizenry, ut. Now this ut clause is the subjunctive ut clause that is an indirect command. Indirect commands are introduced by a commandy verb, and essentially is reporting, as it is said, indirectly what the command would be. Persuaded the citizenry that they go out from their own borders with all their abundances. So he's going to then suggest to them a mass migration. And we jump directly into indirect statement, as implied by the persuasion. He persuaded them that it was, essay, has to happen at the same time. Since that's already in the past, essay, the present infinitive, should also be expressed as in the past. That it was very easy, or just easy. I'm saying very because of the pair, not because of a superlative nature. That it was easy to possess. Now this is one of 5 verbs that are deponent, and that's why I'm saying actively to possess, even though it looks like a passive infinitive. That would take an ablative or genitive object. So it's either to possess the empire, ablative, of all of Gaul, that being one of the naughty 9. Remember the naughty 9 are the 9 adjectives whose genitives do not look like a regular first and second declension, and whose dative do not look like a regular first and second declension. Normally, it would be us, and for the genitive line, it would be e, I, e, and for the dative line, it would be o, I, o. Think about the stupid songs we sing, us, e, o, and so forth and so on. But when they are the naughty 9, instead, the genitive is going to look like eus, 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 and then the dative would look like e, and then e. And so that's why totius is the genitive modifying Gallii. To possess the empire of all Gaul, or, since these verbs, which include utor, waiscor, fruor, fungor, and potior, they also can have a genitive object to possess, to control all of Gaul in an empire, since, this is a cum clause with an imperfect subjunctive, since they stood before all, and it requires a dative object in their virtue. So in other words, that they would be able to take over all of Gaul because they are the toughest of them all. Continuing on, he persuaded this thing to them. Remember, it means to make an accusative thing favorable to a dative thing. So he made this thing, it, the idea of leaving, favorable to them, more easily a comparative adverb, with because of this. And then what follows is the this. Because, or one can often translate as the fact that, especially in prose. Cicero is quite fond of making it have an English expression equivalency of the fact that. On all sides, undique, by the ablative nature of the genitive place, the Helvetians are contained. Conteneo, contenere, telling me that it is a present. Second conjugation E. From one part, contained, by the Rhine River, very wide and very deep, which divides the Helvetian territory field from the Germans. From another part, by the Jura Mountain, very tall Jura Mountain, which is between the Sequani and the Helvetii. From a third part, do you see the una, one, autre, another, tertia, third, by Lake Lamanus, which we call Lake Geneva, and the Rhodanus River, which divides our province from the Helvetii. And it went down. Now remember, the fiebot is the passive equivalency of facio. So if you were to have, of course, amat, you then to make it passive would just change the ending from t to tur. But if you were to have facit, the form of facitur does not exist. Instead, you need a whole separate verb, and that verb is this one here, whose principal parts reflect its irregularity. Fio, fieri, factus, sum. To be done, to be made, to happen, to become. And so, it happened, it went down, if you would like, that minus late. Minus is comparative. Less widely did they, or wandered they, or they wandered less widely, and less easily were they able, possum posse, the infinitive plus an ending, making an imperfect subjunctive, just like this was an imperfect subjunctive, to bring in war to their nearest neighbors, dative case. And here, ablative, because of these things, it went down. Now, what is the it? When you say it went down or it happened? Well, it's what we call an impersonal verb. And so, the subject of an impersonal verb is either going to be an infinitive expression, or here, an entire ut clause subjunctive expression, such that what is the subject of what went down? The action of them wandering less widely, and the action of them being able less easily to bring war to their neighbors. And so the whole clause that is circled in blue is the subject of the fiebot. Continuing on. Qua ex parte. Now this isn't part as in part of their territory, but more like reason. So out of this reason, or which reason, the men, they are described in as cupidi. Cupidus means desirous. And the next word out of your mouth in English would be of. And so therefore this adjective requires a genitive object. Desirous of warring, they were affected by a great sadness, a great grief. Pro multitudine autem. However, pro multitudine, on behalf of their multitude of men, genitive plural, and on behalf of the glory of war and of strength, they judged a deponent verb, arbitror, arbitrari, arbitratisum, that they, in the accusative, did have. Now, why did have? Because it's a present infinitive going to occur at the same exact time as the introductory verb. That they did have angustos fines, narrow borders. So this is the accusative direct object of the verb habere, and that is the accusative subject. Borders which lay open, were lying open, into its length, 100, 200, 240 thousands of paces, 240 miles, but thousands of paces, into its length, and into its width, latitudinem, those borders which were lying 100, 50, 60, 70, 80, 180 thousands of paces into its width. So, it is 240 miles long and 180 miles wide, the Helvetians to where they want to, of course, get out of there. And next video will be chapter 3.